Hey guys, we are on day 137 in our Bible reading plan, and today we're reading in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 16, 17, and 18. Chapter 16, David is on the run. Absalom has declared himself king over Israel. David leaves, and he leaves with a great number of people. He flees from Jerusalem. While he is on the road, Ziba meets him. Now, Ziba is a servant that David has appointed to care for Jonathan's son Mephibosheth, who is lame. David restored all of Jonathan's lands and Saul's inheritance to Mephibosheth, and Ziba was appointed to look after his household. This servant, Ziba, is the one who comes to David while David is on the run, and he brings him refreshments. He brings him donkeys laden with bread, with loaves of bread, and with food and refreshments, with wine for everyone that's with him. And when David asks, "Where is your master?" he says he's waiting in Jerusalem for the people to restore Saul's kingdom for him. And at that moment, David gives to Ziba all of Mephibosheth's inheritance. And we have this sense here that not only is Absalom making a play for the kingdom, but Saul's descendants are ready for another descendant of Saul to be king. As David's going along the road, another of Saul's descendants abuses him verbally and throws rocks at them as they're going. And David doesn't retaliate. He doesn't do anything. He says if it's the Lord's will that he's doing it, then let him do this. The Lord will take care of this. And that's the way that David's going to deal with Absalom as well, and Absalom's usurpation of his kingdom. We read also in 16 that Ahithophel advises Absalom. Ahithophel was an advisor to David and stayed to become an advisor to Absalom. David has prayed that the Lord would confuse Ahithophel's advice to Absalom and give him poor advice. And here we are with the first account of the advice that he gives to Absalom, which is to completely disgrace David before Israel. And he does so. He does exactly what the Lord says actually will be done to David as punishment for his sin of killing Uriah. He goes, he sleeps with all of David's concubines in front of all of Israel and completely disgraces his household. Then in 17, we have this account where Absalom goes again to Ahithophel and asks for advice. Ahithophel tells him, "Go pursue David and kill him." And Absalom is going to take his advice, but asks Hushai for some confirmation that this is the right thing to do. Hushai says, "Look, David is a warrior. All of Israel knows he is a great warrior, and if you go out to battle with him now, you will be destroyed and embarrassed before all of Israel. So don't do it. Gather your men, gather all Israel to you, and march out in great numbers against him so that you can be assured of the victory." So that's what Absalom does. And in the meantime, Hushai sends messengers to David to warn him to flee, that this is coming. This is what's coming at him. And so David crosses the Jordan to Mahanaim, and there he receives aid again. And so we have this sense that there are still people in the kingdom that are loyal to King David, that are there to support him, that are with him heart and soul still, providing for his troops, providing for his need and his cares along the way. In chapter 18, this rebellion, this usurpation is going to come to an end. David has hundreds and thousands of men. We read, and he separates them into 3 units to go out against Israel as they come to fight them. He asks all of the troops before he sends them out. He tells the commanders in front of all the troops before he sends them out to be gentle to his son Absalom. He actually, here at this point, he wants to go to war with his men, and Joab advises him, "Look, that's not a good idea. You are worth 10,000 men. We can't lose you, so you stay behind. We'll fight this battle on your behalf." And so David stays behind. He sends his troops out, and they rout Israel's army. They have them on the run. And during the battle, Absalom has gone out on a donkey, and his beautiful 5-pound hair that we've heard of already gets caught in a tree, and his mule wanders off without him, leaving him hanging in this tree. David's men come to Joab and say, "Absalom is hanging from the tree," and Joab reprimands them for not killing him. And they say, "No way, we heard the king. We heard that he told everyone not to touch his son. There's no way we're doing it. Had we done that, we would have come back and told you we killed him and you'd kill us." And they're right. He probably would have, but Joab takes matters into his own hands. He goes out, he plunges 3 javelins into the heart of Absalom, and then has his armor bearers finish him off. And then he takes him, he buries him in a pit, covers it with rocks, and sends a Cushite messenger to tell David what has happened. That Cushite is actually outrun by Joab's own son, who gets to David first to tell him the battle is won. And when David inquires what has happened to the young man Absalom, he says that he doesn't know. And then the Cushite arrives with the news that his son has fallen, and David mourns, completely beside himself with grief over the death of his son. And as we read through this account, we get the sense that David understands that the Lord's judgment for his sin against Uriah has come on him. And indeed, we read that the things the Lord has said will happen have happened now, and that he has carried out this judgment against David, and David is completely submitted to it. He understands his sin has brought this on him, and he is willing to submit to the judgment of the Lord, what may. If the Lord delivers him and restores him to the throne, he's there for that. And if he doesn't, he's there for that too. But his understanding of this situation seems to be that the death of his son Absalom is on his own shoulders here, and he mourns and laments deeply for his son. It just reminds me that our sin has very real consequences. There's spiritual consequences to our sin, and Jesus' death, when we go to God, his death has covered over that. He has made a way for us to be forgiven. Jesus has made a way for us to be restored in our relationship with the Lord. And he's made a way for us to be restored with one another and to reconcile with one another. And that doesn't change, though, that there are real consequences to our own sin. There are relational consequences that we still have to deal with. We still have to walk out. We still have to figure out how to reconcile when we've made mistakes that have harmed other people, when we have made mistakes that have harmed our relationship with God. We have to reconcile those things. We have to come to God. We have to ask for forgiveness. We have to continually choose to draw near to him again and again. And it's the same with our sin and the consequences it has with our relationships with others. We have to be willing to forgive ourselves. We have to be willing to forgive other people's sins, but then we have to be willing to walk out and understand that there are some things that we can't change because of what we did. And we have to learn how to walk forward with that. It's just a reminder to me the importance of living in a place of grace and understanding. We still have a responsibility to live in a way where we do the most good and the least harm in our relationships with others. If we are following the 2 greatest commandments, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, then we're living in ways that honor God first. We're desiring to live in ways that honor God. And if we're following his 2nd commandment, love others as yourself, then we are living in ways that are going to seek to honor and bring the least harm and the most good to everyone around us. It's just a good reminder for me today. That's what the Lord is speaking to me, just the importance of those 2 commands and why they cover so much in our lives. I hope that encourages you. I can't wait to hear how the Lord is speaking to you through this passage, and I can't wait to hear how the Lord is speaking through you through this passage today. On the Bible app, drop a comment in the Talk It Over section. I'd love to hear what the Lord's speaking to you, and have a great day, guys.